Well, again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us throughout the world. We have so many people that will be chiming in the next few minutes also. Bob is our caretaker, as I like to call him, Bob Jacobson. Round of applause, Bob. Thank you for helping us make this all happen. Also, I am, for those of you that don't know me, I am Mary Bates. I am the current district governor for Rotary District 5150. That is the Bay Area, which includes Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo County. So thank you for joining us this morning. We are recording. So if you want to go to a dark screen or a different photo, please do. But just note that because this session will be recorded and posted on our District 5150 website so that you can go back, or for friends, family that would like to view it at a later date. I would be amiss if I did not recognize the committee that brings this to you. Our district assembly committee has worked feverishly over the last 6 months and even the year before to bring us our district assembly, which was to be on March 21st. Now, as you know, with the pandemic, we had to shift. And the amazing thing that happened with this committee is that we're so excited to present you online learning and leadership development workshops. A special thank you to our event chair, Tony Villanueva, and Bob Jacobson, who keeps us honest, as I like to call him. He's been really helping on the committee. Josie McHale, our PRPI, Larry Harrison, who has helped with getting all of our instructors and our presenters in order. There's about 2 every month through December. And of course, past District Governor Ron Ginn. Thank you, Ron, for your guidance, experience, as well as your passion for videos. So with further ado, we're going to kick this off. This is your World Peace, Coming Out into My Own Legacy of Peace. Now, our speaker today is Brian Rusch. And I've had the privilege of working with him throughout the past several years. When you work with someone like him, and he works with world famous peace leaders, it is hard not to be inspired. Brian has taken those experiences and used them to inspire others, as you will see today. Over the last few years, Brian has run organizations for both Archbishop Desmond Tutu and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, taking the knowledge that they had imparted on him to create programs for youth to inspire their own exploration of ethnics and to repurpose conversations on peace, equality, and forgiveness. Now, in every project Brian takes on, he imbues the South African concept of Ubuntu, which loosely translates to, I am because you are. My humility is bound in yours, and we can only be human together. His first exposure to Rotary was as a Rotary foreign exchange student in Brazil. In his 20s, Brian joined the Rotary Club of Hollywood, California, and later was a charter member of both the Rotary Club of San Francisco Castro and the Rotary Club of Peninsula Starlight. In July, he led and launched District 5150's first E-Club, the Rotary Club for Global Action, a unique club made of charter members from countries around the world, and many of you have joined us today. Thank you. Brian regularly consults with nonprofit organizations, governments, and corporations and celebrities to help them strategize as to how they can best optimize their platforms to be change markers for good. While not traveling the world, encourage people to find and share their inspiration. Bryant currently lives in Woodside, California with his husband of 25 years and their 2 dogs. So it is a pleasure to introduce and give the mic to Brian Rusch. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for that nice introduction. I'm really happy to be here today. And you know, I was in South Africa when lockdown started, and I was supposed to arrive the night before the district assembly. So I was a little relieved that it didn't actually happen, because I didn't have to like go straight into this. But as we started trying to brainstorm how to best do this, I thought, you know, I'd already given the same talk to International Assembly. So why not share that original video, and then afterwards have a Q&A and a discussion? Because I really, for me personally, I think that so much comes out of the back and forth and the conversation that can happen around these topics. So let's go ahead and start with my talk, and then we can have a discussion afterwards.
You know, I often get invited to speak at events like this because of my history working with some of the greatest peace leaders in the world. Over the last decade, I've run foundations for both His Holiness the Dalai Lama, as well as Archbishop Desmond Tutu, 2 of the world's greatest well-known peace leaders. Additionally, I spent much of the last 2 years working on a project to shine a light on the work of the Catholic Church to fight human trafficking and what they're doing to fight the refugee crisis. However, my own personal journey began much earlier as a peace leader, all the way back to my Rotary Youth Exchange in Brazil. Thanks to Rotary, I was able to go from a small mountain town, Grand Lake, Colorado, to the city of Recife, the 4th largest urban area in Brazil. This opportunity was one that greatly expanded my worldview. It opened my eyes beyond what I could even imagine. It taught me the power of connecting to my world. I returned from Brazil, and I was committed I was going to make a huge difference, a fascinating impact on the world. Do something that really was going to just make waves and just have the greatest impact on society. So I did what anyone would do. I moved to Hollywood and I became a fashion stylist. I spent all of my 20s and my early 30s working at the crossroads of fashion, entertainment, and technology. But one day I realized that I wanted more out of my life. I realized that it was time to start using my powers for good. And so I got a job working in the nonprofit sector. Today, as I travel the world, even as I spent this week here and I look around this room, I'm struck by the gorgeous rainbow of cultures on display. And as I look and I think about this, I'm reminded of a philosophy that I first learned from Archbishop Tutu. It's a philosophy called Ubuntu. Ubuntu loosely translates to, I am because we are. My humanity is inextricably bound, it's tied up in yours, and we can only be human together. Now, as I work to discover my own contributions towards peace, I realized that for me personally, the key is really how can I help others to find peace in their life? So when I was working with the Archbishop at his foundation, I created a program called Peace 3. It blends much of the work of Archbishop as well as the secular teachings of the Dalai Lama. Peace 3 really stands for peace within, peace between, and peace among. The first part of this program is peace within. This means developing an inner peace, peace on a personal level, dealing with spiritual, emotional, and psychological dimensions. It aims to encourage self-awareness and self-reflection. Now, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to hear the Dalai Lama speak, or maybe even Pope Francis, but when you do, you know that their inner peace is palpable. You can feel it radiating out to you, no matter where you are in a stadium. And even if you're surrounded by thousands and thousands of people, you can feel that energy. Many people have a lot of different ways for achieving inner peace. For Archbishop Tutu, he does it through prayer. His Holiness the Dalai Lama does it every morning for hours and hours of meditation starting at 4 a.m. I have a great friend named Jamal Yogas. He wrote a book called Saltwater Buddha, and it's really all about how he is able to achieve inner peace through surfing. For me personally, I both meditate and I pray, but I found that the best way for me to achieve inner peace is walking with my dogs in the redwood forest in my backyard. For all of us, it's a very, very personal journey. Peace between is the second pillar, and it's about building strong relationships between people, specifically your family, your friends, and your community. Recognizing that conflict is always going to be part of the human experience, we have to learn effective ways to communicate with one another in order to transform conflict into something positive. This is my Aunt Diane. I'm confident that a lot of you may have an aunt just like mine. We disagree on many, many things, but we have an amazing relationship. That's possible because rather than focusing on the things that we disagree on, we focus on what our shared loves are. My dad, her kids, we both love to travel, and we both love fashion. By focusing on what we have in common, we're able to rise above our differences and be very, very close. I was a charter member of the Rotary Club of San Francisco Castro. Those of you that might not know, it was the first LGBTQ cultured Rotary Club in the world. A lot of people ask, why do we need a club like this? The Castro Rotary Club stands as a model for the world that Rotary is truly a diverse and inclusive organization. And since its founding, there's more LGBTQ cultured clubs throughout the world that have started. Now, as we all know, Rotary didn't even allow women as members until 1987. To this day, Rotary International has never had a female president. And very few of the more than 100 men that have been president have been people of color. But I would posit that it's women, the diversity of race, cultures, faiths, and even acknowledging our LGBTQ brothers and sisters is in fact exactly what keeps Rotary relevant and what makes us the thriving organization that we continue to be. It is fundamental that those of us who might not fit the stereotypical idea of what a Rotarian is, we need to stand fast in our authenticity. An important part of how culture is going to evolve is through visibility. The third pillar of Peace 3 is peace among. Once we're able to find inner peace and we practice that with those that we care about, we can carry that peace forward into our communities, and ultimately this is going to lead to peace among nations. In 2017, I spent several days with the Bedouin in Wadi Rum, Jordan. Many of you may have had the great opportunity to go to a Bedouin camp in Jordan. You know, there's gorgeous tents and there's rugs on the ground and maybe chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. If your Bedouin camp didn't look like this, you didn't stay in a real Bedouin camp. While I was there, I learned about the issues that face the Bedouin. Modern borders and conflicts in the Middle East make it difficult for these nomadic people to travel the distances that they used to with their herds. Many of them fear losing their traditional ways of life, especially as young tribal members are moving to cities for a different lifestyle, and climate change is affecting areas where they can graze their herds. It wasn't until I was able to sit down with these people that I was able to truly understand about the issues facing them. And later, I was able to sit down with King Abdullah and Prince Ali, and leaders in the Hashemite kingdom, and share with them about these issues. I was able to work to help create peace among people. One of my favorite quotes is a quote by Archbishop Tutu. If you want peace, you don't talk to your friends. You need to talk to your enemies. In 2016, I was invited by Mohammed bin Salman to speak at an event in Saudi Arabia. This was before he was a crown prince. I call this photo, one of these things is not like the others. I was really outside of my comfort zone on this visit. The event was sponsored by UNESCO and the Princess Misk Foundation, and it was about supporting young people and really exploring how the kingdom could move forward into a modern age. To that end, I stated on stage that if the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was serious about becoming a modern country, it really needed to start focusing and addressing the rights of women and girls, people with disabilities, and its LGBTQ citizens. I stepped off stage, and I was congratulated by the prince, and then I sat down for an interview with Saudi TV. When I got back to the green room, my phone was like buzzing and lit up, and I had 87 new notices on Twitter. I read through them, and the responses were just overwhelmingly positive. Gratitude that someone had called for gay rights in the kingdom. UNESCO picked up on the buzz and decided they were going to tweet out a photo of myself and my husband with Archbishop and Mrs. Tutu. At this point, I was a little overwhelmed with the attention and decided I was going to try and take a nap, but my phone just kept buzzing with new notifications. I'd really tapped into something in the kingdom. That night, I flew out to Frankfurt, Germany, and when I landed, I turned my phone on, and again, it was blowing up. But this time, the notifications were different. There were hundreds and hundreds of calls from my death, including photos of me on stage, as well as personal photos that people had gleaned from my social media. My visa was revoked, and I'm no longer welcome in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But something amazing came out of this experience. Young people who were in attendance at the conference reached out to me via Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and WhatsApp. Young people all over the Middle East reached out to thank me. People who had been struggling with their sexuality and often lived in areas where their lives would be in danger if they were to come out, they thanked me for being an example of someone who was living my life authentically. Now, in my personal exploration of creating peace, I'm often asked, how are we going to be able to find peace in a world that we have so much suffering? For me, the best way to find peace is that we have to take action. Most of my work over the last decade has been focused on modern slavery and inspiring young people to be peace leaders. I am the co-creator of the Ubuntu Lab. It's a place where we can work with young people to help them value the diversity of the human experience. It's a place where the knowledge of this diversity gives them the skills to live and work together and unlock a world where there's space for everyone to achieve their own vision of peace and prosperity. Now, I know my experience might seem unique. I've had the opportunity to meet some amazing people and to work with phenomenal people that all of us know. But is it really unique? I hope that something I've shared today has resonated with you. Perhaps makes you want to further explore, break out of your comfort zones, talk to people who might disagree with you, and find common ground. Get out there and take action. Finally, my call to each and every one of you today is to help inspire people, not just members of our Rotary family, but people all around the world. This year, you all have a unique platform. Help our fellow members appreciate what it has meant to focus on peace within, peace between, and peace among. May that be part of our great legacy. Thank you.
I think we're going to have quite a few questions. I already have several coming in on my, my texting. Brian, did you want to make a couple comments before we go into questions?
You're still on mute, Brian.
You're muted, Brian.
Thank you. I unmuted and remuted myself. Sorry about that. You know, one thing that I really am thrilled to share has changed since I gave that talk, aside from my hair, is that, you know, now, as we all know, we have a Rotary International President nominee who is a woman. And that's super exciting news, I think, for all of us, because, you know, that's something that we had been trying to have for a while. And so I'm thrilled that we're finally having that happen. And so now my talk's almost kind of out of date. I have to redo it.
Very true, but thank you. You know, it's all that mark in time, looking back at history, and it's already history, which we thank you for that presentation. I was actually in that huge ballroom when Brian was speaking, and I'll tell you, as I looked around with my fellow 533 incoming district governors, it was really, I was really proud that we were represented, 5150, our district, but also the way, the loving feel that came from Brian as he spoke. I encourage everyone to put, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat now. I have a few already that have come through before we open today. And Brian, we're putting you on the spot. So I hope you're ready, and welcome everyone. And Brian is up for the challenge. So with, there's a lot that has changed in the world since you gave the talk. We were just talking about that since January, and really looking at our president-elect nominee, which should be confirmed beginning of October. How do you think this impacts our organization?
I think overall it's definitely a net positive. You know, we're a global organization, so I think part of the obstacle has been that what necessarily we're ready for in California, what we're ready for in Canada, what we're ready for throughout Europe, people might not necessarily be ready for in other parts of the world. And so I think that Jennifer, as most of you know, I know Jennifer pretty well, and she's somebody who's really worked to connect with people in countries all over the world and really represent Rotary first. And it's not, I don't think that she would consider herself representing a gender. I think what she considers herself is representing Rotary. And I think that that's something that's very important to be in that position. That said, we have a lot of work to do still, as an organization. We really have to, not just as an organization, all of us have to look at ourselves and be able to give an honest assessment of who we are as people. And I think as clubs, as districts, as an organization, we have to do that same thing. Because while we keep taking strides forward, there's still issues that we need to resolve and really figure out how to. The fact that, we've had one Black Rotary International president, and Rotary is thriving in Africa, speaks to that, and I think that we really haven't. I think I sat down one day and tried to figure out how many people of color we'd actually had as Rotary president, and it's not very many.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those comments. We have some fun questions as well as some in-depth questions. I think we'll go into a fun one. This is great. You went from the fashion industry to working with the world's greatest peace leaders. What compelled you to make that change?
It was an evolution. I originally, I was in the fashion industry. I was a fashion stylist, and then in the mid '90s, I actually launched. It was an online magazine, kind of like what a blog would be today, but at the time it was for teenage girls. And so I was doing a lot, getting a lot involved in the internet kind of boom at the time, and learning about technology and creating content and doing all that kind of thing. And in the mid 2000s, I was with my grandfather. He was, my grandfather was a Rotarian. He was president of his club in Sedona, Arizona, and also in Grand Lake, Colorado. And he was in hospice. And so I was kind of with him while he was dying. And I sort of set my business aside and was just focused on him. And after he passed, I noticed two things. One, he was surrounded by so many amazing, loving people, and he had such a great impact on the world, both through Rotary and through what he did professionally. And also my business wasn't really hurting. It was still generating the same amount of income it was when I was putting all my time into it. And so I thought, wow, I've got some extra time, and maybe I should start using some of my powers for good. And so I really, the knowledge that I had from working with celebrities and working, creating content, and I got a job working for a nonprofit in Palo Alto, and the rest is kind of history.
Oh, that's wonderful. So to add on to that, I know you know Joe Atkins. He's from the Rotary Club of San Francisco Castro. He'd like to know, so you've had some great, amazing opportunities to work with some notable people. How did you get those opportunities?
He asked me this once a long time ago too. The reality of it is I asked. I really just asked them. I had an opportunity to interact with certain people. So my first organization I worked at was called Project Happiness, and it was an organization focused on social and emotional learning. And it was something that had come out of the Dalai Lama Foundation. And so I actually reached out to the executive director there, and I was like, hey, let me do social media for you. And so I started doing that. And when I was doing that, she had asked me if I would continue doing some more work with her. And then finally I'm like, look, I would love to help you more, but I'd love a position within the organization. So I was hired as the deputy director there. And then when I made the decision, I had actually met Archbishop Tutu working for the Dalai Lama, and I had just had this amazing connection with him. And so when I decided to stop working with His Holiness, I reached out to the Dalai Lama Foundation and was just like, look, you guys have an amazing organization. You have some amazing ideas for programs, but you need somebody to implement it. Let me do that for you. And then I heard nothing for about 2 weeks. And I thought, great, I've totally messed up this relationship. And then I was contacted by them, and they were just like overwhelmed. They're like, wow, we can't believe this. We had actually received a grant to hire an executive director the day before you sent your message, would you want to apply for that position? And so I did. And that's how I got that job. And the same thing working with Lisa Christine, who many of you know. She and I had been friends for a long time, and she had wanted to start the Human Thread Foundation. And we talked about it for about 6 months, and we've been bouncing ideas, and finally I'm like, Lisa, let me just do this for you. And so really, I think I mean, you can't just cold call somebody, but I think that it's really like recognizing, you know, RA President Holger Kanak has said that Rotary opens opportunities. And I think that throughout all of our lives, there's opportunities there, and you just have to be willing to recognize when they're there and then be willing to take them.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, that's amazing. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Thank you, everyone, for posting them and some comments. We'll try to get to all of them. So Bob Jacobson, our person in charge of this right now, he's from the Rotary Club of Pacifica. He asked, is your Peace 3 initiative still active? And if so, how can we learn more?
The original program as it was has not been operating under the Desmond Tutu Peace Foundation, mostly because they don't have anybody currently to do that. I have been working with the Tutu family to continue this, and also with some different parties. So for example, in Haiti, I produce a Peace 3 conference, usually every other year. It was supposed to be this year, but because of COVID, it got postponed. Where we bring peace leaders together, and what I've been trying to do is teach them how to give peace conferences to organizations that they work with. So teaching these principles and bringing some other principles from His Holiness and from other peace leaders, the Pope, and how we can do that. So it does still exist, but it exists in a different format. And I would be talk to anybody that would be interested in creating that within their organization, within schools, however they'd like to do that. I'd be happy to have that conversation. So just reach out to me.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. On the call today, we have past District Governor Jerry Fujimoto from our district here, 5150. She's a member of the Rotary Club of Peninsula Starlight. Choose to volunteer pretty much at any charitable organization. Why Rotary?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I think, I mean, I have volunteered at many organizations, and I still do.
Mm-hmm.
Rotary is unique for several reasons, in that first and foremost, it's all volunteer. Everybody that goes around the world, it's people that are genuinely in places. Many of the members involved are usually in places of influence and places to get things done, but they also genuinely just care about making a difference and making the world a better place. And so I have found personally that for the work that I do and for many of the projects and things that I think are worthy in this world, partnering or doing it within Rotary is an amazing opportunity, because first of all, you have somebody pretty much anywhere in the world that you want to do something with and partner with. You can find a Rotarian in that country that can help you with that. And it really is not so much in the West, but in a lot of developing countries, it really does help you to facilitate things and have things happen. And the reality is that there's a few things from a nonprofit standpoint to make things happen that you need. One is you need money. Two is you need people to help do that. And three is oftentimes you need people who know the way that things work. So if I'm trying to do something in Cambodia, I don't know how things operate in Cambodia. I don't know the cultural aspects of how things work there. So I need somebody there that can help me, and Rotary offers all of that. And additionally, it is one of, if not the most respected organizations in the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, so along those lines, we have a question on how are you able to combine your work with various world leaders and your involvement in Rotary? You sort of kind of already answered it, but do you have anything else to add? You know, how do you combine that together?
You know, I think any of you that know me a little bit know that I'm a connector. And so what I love to do is really connect people and see what happens. And you know, I started a new e-club just for exactly that reason. And so one of the things that I've been really thrilled about is many of you know, John Kaufman, who's on the call with us. You know, he's the founder of H2 Open Doors. And so back when I first started getting re-involved in Rotary in this district, I had an event at the Vatican, and so I invited John to come with me. And so we went, and he spoke at the Vatican on H2 Open Doors. And then again, actually this year in February, he and I met with Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi to explore how we could provide safe drinking water to villages that are really focused on preventing child trafficking throughout India. And so I think that, like, being able to recognize amazing opportunities and people that are doing amazing things within Rotary and connect them with the people that I know. And so when I started my new e-club, one of the real goals of that was, how can I bring together all these amazing people that I know around the world into one club so that they can all start doing it. And you know, again, like with John, who actually isn't in my club, but we do a lot of stuff together.
Well,
one of my club members in South Sudan. And so now we're exploring how we can do something in South Sudan. So I think it's really, for me, it's really about connecting. And that's what I've been trying to focus on with Rotary and the different partnerships.
that's great. John does have a question for you, which it's intriguing to me. John Kaufman, he's from the Rotary Club of Peninsula Starlight. So Brian, we don't really talk to people who might disagree with us as much. So what kinds of lessons might we learn about how to listen and not be threatened by opposing views?
I think, well, first of all, I know that John does actually listen to a lot of people, and he does do that. So that's not true when he says we. I think, you know, it is a process for all of us. And so one of the reasons why with Peace 3, we start with Peace Within, is because it's really about how can you sit with yourself and understand yourself, and then and focus on how you can be still with yourself and have that inner peace, because that really is the key to being able to sit and have conversations with other people. And believe me, I have conversations with it. I'm sure there's people on this call that don't agree with some of the things that I believe. But being able to have a conversation, understand why, and listen to those different things. Now, there's going to be people who you will never agree with, and there's going to be people who are not willing to be open to that conversation. And you also have to understand sometimes that that's the case, and cut your losses and focus on where you can actually have an impact and make a difference.
Yes, exactly. So our friend Gaffer has a question. I can't tell where he's from. He's past president. What kind of peace are you looking at post-pandemic? Yeah, exactly. We're getting in deep here.
You know, I think I can answer that on a couple different levels. For me personally, I'm generally all over the place. I generally tend to travel at least 2 weeks a month. And since, you know, returning from Africa in March, I've basically been home. I've had a week, you know, visiting family and a week in the desert, but basically I haven't left my house. And that tests my inner peace, right? Like, because I love to travel. I love to get around and do things. But it's also being able to start sitting with that and understand, like, okay, well, maybe there is something to recognize that I have to focus on some internal stuff while I have this opportunity. I think on a global level, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's one of the wonderful things about this pandemic is that while we are not able to be out in the world the way that we're used to, we're also more connected than we've ever been. And I think that, like, technology wise, we've really advanced several years beyond where we actually would be, both work with Rotary. I mean, I think that, like, it's awesome, you know, I have an e-club, we meet digitally, but all of us are meeting digitally now. And I think that that's going to be something that continues as we move forward. I don't think many people are going to stop doing that when we're able to stop doing that. Because I think that people really do connect with family have. And it's also work. It's allowing people to travel to areas where they've never been. And I mean, I'm speak at meetings all over the world every week, and I wouldn't have the bandwidth to be able to do that otherwise. And I know that, you know, when we had RI President Holder this week, he has been able to visit so many more clubs than he normally would have been able to because of the situation. So, you know, there's a give and take on that. I think on an international thing, without getting political, a lot depends on where we're at come February of 2021, both politically and with the COVID crisis, with a potential vaccine, with potential of a lot, you know.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are going to see is and we've been seeing it since the beginning, is that we're recognizing that there really is a huge inequality in the world right now, and we need to start taking steps to do something about that. You know, we have across the world, you know, I do a lot of work in Africa, and there are kids who cannot go to school because they don't have internet, they don't have computers, they don't have that kind of thing. But that's something that's happening here in California. So it's not just an inequality around the world, it's an inequality here in the US. And that is something that if we really are going to have peace, we have to start addressing that. Additionally, there's people in all over the world who don't, you know, I'll use South Africa as an example. In South Africa, their lockdown was a lockdown. You were not able to leave your house. And so you were not able to work. It was hard to go and provide for your family. And so there's people who are now starving, who don't have clean drinking water, who don't have access to medical care. And a lot of it's because they weren't able to leave their house. And there's been a lot of people are doing amazing things to provide services to those. But it's something that we're really going to have to, especially the longer this lasts, we really are going to look at how we're going to be able to resolve these things.
Exactly. I think it's opened our eyes to the inequality, as you said. And the other thing is really looking at technology and how we can use it to our advantage to keep us connected during this time. We have a couple comments that have come through that I'm just going to read for the good of the attendees and you. Olga Saradas, she said, the beauty of coexistence is in learning acceptance. There is no alternative to living peacefully and harmoniously. That's beautiful, Olga. Thank you so much. And then another comment from Patricia Player Maxwell, who's from the Rotary Club of Foster City here in our district, 5150. She says, having lived and worked in Saudi Arabia, I can say that they are evolving slowly now that women are driving themselves, have their own chamber of commerce, run banks, and get to do what we've done. And we are dealing with a society that used to be tribal, and now they've really come a long way. So thank you, Patricia, for sharing that. Go ahead. If you'd like to comment, Brian, go ahead.
I think to Patricia's comment, it's absolutely true. And I think that's something that you see across the Middle East as a whole. And don't get me wrong, because I loved the Middle East. I love visiting there. I love Saudi Arabia, and it was an honor to be there. It's like anything. There's different people are ready in different levels of what they're prepared to accept, and currently they're not prepared to accept me. But yeah, I think that that's something that kind of goes with the conversation. I have amazing friends from Saudi Arabia. I have amazing friends from, I mean, my friend Nijad is here today, and I'm so grateful that he's joined us, because I know he's doing a lot of amazing work in Saudi Arabia. And one of the things when we started this new club was I really wanted to be able to open up to people in some of these regions that Rotary doesn't currently exist for a lot of reasons, to allow people to become Rotarians even if they couldn't have a club. And so I think that that's been something that's been really, and it's something that I welcome people from Saudi Arabia. I welcome people from Vietnam, from, as you know, we have a member from Cuba.
Yeah.
So I think that it's something that it really is about this dialogue. How do we have this dialogue? And also recognize that we're all just human. And while we may have different belief systems, it doesn't invalidate anybody else's belief system.
Agreed. We have a few other questions that have come in, Brian, from Josh, who is on the call. Brian, throughout your journey of living authentically and trying to change the world, were there ever moments where you felt alone? And in these times, how did you find your people and people who understood what you were trying to accomplish? So a two-part question.
Well, first of all, like all the time I feel alone. Not in a negative way, but there are, you know, there's when you're, sometimes you start things and you're just like, why am I seeing this and nobody else is seeing this? Why, you know, and that sometimes is difficult. When I travel, there's sort of a catch-22, because some of it is like I enjoy being alone. Maybe not COVID alone, but I do enjoy some time alone. And there's a few things. I mean, one is Rotary, you know, I mean, Rotary exists everywhere. So pretty much anywhere I am, I can go to a club and connect with people. Another thing is, as many of you know, I've been sober for a long time. So I go to AA, and I have an opportunity to connect with people there and have that opportunity. And then I just really love to just go and hang out. One of my dearest friends, I met at an airport in Jaipur. We were just hanging out. She was there, I was there, and there was the rest of the plane was traveling to Mecca and through Delhi, and we just started talking. And turns out she's actually, I won't mention her name, but she's a gem smuggler. So she goes to India, she buys gems, and then she smuggles them to France. And I was like, this is awesome, I love this. I want to know you.
Oh my.
And so when we got to Delhi, we had dinner, and it was, you know, it was like this amazing, and we're still, I mean, this has been 9 years now, and we still talk regularly. But it's, you know, so it's really also just being willing to put yourself in a situation and then start talking to people, because people, when you're in an awkward situation and you feel alone, there's a lot of other people around you that feel that same way. And very rarely have I gone up and started to talk to somebody where it's been no and shut down. You know, I can't think of any time that's ever happened. You know, and another amazing example is Manyang, who I was talking about from South Sudan. I actually met him on a bus in Saudi Arabia, and now he's a member of our club, and he's doing a project with John Kaufman. And it's, you know, it's just it's just because we started talking, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm jealous. This guy's the funniest guy I've ever met, but yeah, it's just striking up a conversation with people.
And that's the first time I heard your piece 3. I believe that, you know, what you're speaking to now is all part of that. So it is still alive and well, because you have peace within. But then, like with your aunt, you know, you find that commonality so that you can work together on that, or agree on something and not disagree on everything. And then your peace among comes, because you know how to build relationships and look at the positive side. So it's love your stories. They're great. A few other questions coming in, as I like this one from Sylvia Berry. She's also a Rotarian from District 5150. She asked, let's see, now that you are charter president of the Rotary Club for Global Action, she's assuming that your desire is to work with Rotarians globally, and wonders what your vision is for the club, especially in connecting to world peace.
Cool. Well, thank you. As you know, as many of you know, I started the Rotary Club for Global Action this year in July, and it kind of came out of, you know, conversations with you, Mary, that you really wanted to see an e-club in the district. And I travel normally under normal circumstances. I'm traveling quite a bit. And so I usually was only making my meetings like once a month. And so I was like, how could I actually do that more? And I thought an e-club would be perfect. Bob, let's go ahead and show Mary her surprise, and then I can talk about this a little bit more.
Uh-oh.
All right, if you're ready.
I'm not. Don't you dare.
So we did a little something for Holger, and I didn't want Mary to feel left out, so we did a little something for Mary as well.
Oh, thank you.
Rotary Chosen Family.
Rotary Chosen Family.
Oh.
Rotarios, la familia que tú escoges.
Rotary is my gekozen familie.
Rotary, your chosen family.
Rotary هي عائلتك المختارة.
Rotary, your chosen family.
扶轮社是我选择的大家庭。
Rotary, your chosen family.
Rotary, a família que você escolhe.
Rotary, your chosen family.
Ore Rotary, na osotwalang. Ashiore.
Rotary, your chosen family.
Rotary, katsombu utuayo.
Rotary chosen family.
Rotary, your chosen family.
We are the Rotary Club for Global Action, and Rotary is our chosen family. When District Governor Mary Bates selected Rotary Chosen Family as her theme, I knew it was perfect. Why? Because while our club represents 14 countries on 6 continents, Rotary has brought us together as one single family. Check out the Rotary Club for Global Action and learn how Rotary can become part of your chosen family.
Oh, what am I going to do with you? Okay, so we need that on our Facebook page and our website. That's beautiful. Thank you for that gift.
So Sylvia, to continue to answer your question, for me, when we created the Rotary Club for Global Action, it was really about how can we connect people in one club on a global level. And we really have tried to reach out to people all over the world to be part of this club, and not, because one of the great things is it is amazing to have the network of Rotary to be able to do things, but when you actually have people within your club that are around the world, I feel it's going to allow us to do more, both partnership-wise and cooperation-wise in different places. And many of our members actually have organizations of their own. Some of them have the foundations of their own. And so that's been kind of exciting. The other thing is it's really about how can we build a culture of empathy across borders. And so that really is allowing us to network and connect with people in different countries around the world on a level that normally we might not get to if we're just, having a luncheon someplace.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So we have Bob Gutzel from the Rotary Club of Peninsula Starlight. Can't keep track of everyone here in 5150. He's asking, where do you see yourself in, oh my goodness, 10, 15, or 20 years?
Hey, Bob. Well, I'm guessing that I'm probably going to look basically like this, first of all. Prior to COVID, we had been sort of developing a way so that I could be based part-time in Europe and part-time here. So that's definitely on the agenda, probably within the next few years rather than 10. I just really, truly love what I do. And so I don't think I'll ever retire. Right now, I'm working with 2 other Nobel laureates, one Lema Bowie, who is a Liberian peace activist who really focuses on education for girls and women in Western Africa. And then Kailash, who I mentioned earlier, who rescues children from human trafficking and gets them educated. And I love that. And I think that the opportunity to be able to do that and continue doing that is amazing. And one of the reasons that I working with them, we have people like His Holiness and Archbishop Tutu who have stood as the consciousness or the conscience for the world. And they're really old. Archbishop Tutu is somebody who I see him every few years. I see him every few months usually, and but he's not traveling anymore. He's not really doing anything publicly, and so who are these next people? And one of the reasons that I started working with Lema and with Kailash is because I really see them as this next generation of the global conscience. And they're really, they both have, they're young, and they both have the personalities to really inspire people, especially young people. And I think that that's really key, because one of the things that I'm really passionate about is sort of this intergenerational, how do we have wisdom from older people and combine that with enthusiasm and the new ideas of young people, and bring that together in a way that is benefits everybody.
Yeah, agreed. We have a few more questions that I really would like to get to with a few more minutes left. But our current Rotary Club President, Jeff Pickett from the Rotary Club of San Francisco, Castro, he says, this is great. Thank you, Jeff, for giving us this. You find yourself in an elevator with one amazing person who you've always wanted to bring into Rotary. You have 30 seconds to sell it. Go. Come on, you're on the spot. Let's do it. No thinking. Go for it. 30 seconds. That door is going to open.
Rotary International is something that it allows all of us to have, and I've been selling this a lot lately, but it allows all of us to really connect with people who are like-minded, but also who are so diverse in opinion. And that's it. Where else do you find an organization like that? And to be able to really also have a lasting impact that is not just for yourself or for your club or for your community, but it's really something that will have a lasting impact for generations to come. And there really is no other organization that's like that.
Very nice. All right, so that's great. Hopefully, yeah, I joined.
Like, well, would I ask Brittany? I'm not sure.
Well, we have one of our members, William Ross. I believe he's from San Rafael Evening Club. He's made a couple comments and has a couple questions. Okay. So let's get to that. He said one of their past presidents, Mo Marsh, which I love, she always called us family, putting friends and family together. So that's great. I remember her saying that, and that is just amazing. And then William has also asked, let's see, now that we don't pay caterers, drive to meeting halls, he says that his union is changing the meetings from the first Tuesday of every month to every other Tuesday. So now they've gone from meeting in person once a month to over Zoom 2 to 3 times a month, which is that connectivity that I think you were alluding to earlier, because you can connect with more people like our RI President Holger has done. He gets to get out a little bit more, even though you're not really face-to-face. Some people are mask-to-mask. So that is interesting. And another thing that William asked, he said he's never been to Saudi Arabia, but he's been to India. He said he got chickenpox there. Ooh. You seem pretty much like a jet setter. What's your favorite place to work, travel, and or visit?
Well, those are different things.
Yes, they are, but he put it all ///. So answer.
I do have a rule that I don't really vacation in places that aren't welcome to LGBT people. I will go to work, and so and I find that that's just, for me personally, that's just the way that I do it. My favorite place, that I'm going as soon as I can travel, is to Barcelona. I'm ready to buy property, and I just can't do it, and it's driving me insane at the moment. And I have a love for Cape Town and South Africa. I go there generally 2 to 3 times a year. It's every time I go, it's a revelation. I learn new things. I realize that I've been oftentimes I go there from a place of privilege.
I see.
And so that definitely is.
All right. Thank you very much.
So,
no problem. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you.
Black people that I know there are fairly well known, and so it really does allow me to have access, but it also allows me to have a perspective. We had the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation on Peninsula Starlight event a few weeks ago, and my friendship with him has allowed me to just understand South Africa and in a way that I never really did prior to knowing him. And so I think that it really that to me is great. But I also have this rule that I try to go to at least one country every year that I've never been to. It's usually more like 5 or 6, but I do try and get at least one place. I have not had that opportunity this year, but I have been to some I've been to before. So.
Well, thank you, Brian. We're going to wrap up. We've got one more question for you. And this one is, what steps would you suggest to create a more diverse and inclusive Rotary clubs?
I got asked that question specifically around LGBT people after International Assembly, and I think it's a great question. And with everything, I think that with everything going on in the world, especially in the US, diversity and inclusion and all of that is very prevalent and on all of our minds. One thing that I suggest to everybody is and it's not so much, it kind of goes back to Jeff's question about the elevator pitch. I don't think it's about an elevator pitch to people. I think what it is getting out in your community and being of action and partner with, if you really want to involve more LGBT people in your club, well, partner with other LGBT organizations that aren't part of Rotary. And what can you do to get them involved? And they will see the impact that you're having as a club. If you want to do more, have more racially diversity within your club, partner with organizations where you can actually be representative of Rotary within those clubs and show them what kind of great works you can be doing. Because I think that it's always about, don't tell me what you're doing, show me. Because I'm not going to be persuaded by what you're telling me, I'm persuaded by what you show me. And if you can actually be doing that and have a great impact on the world, I'm going to want to be. You're not going to have to sell it to me. I'm going to want to be part of what you're doing. That I think,
knocking on the door. Yeah, they'll be coming to you and knocking on your door, which is wonderful. Well, Brian, thank you for helping inspire us today, and especially for helping us know that we are people of action and we must take action and really work to be diverse and inclusive in our clubs. Special thank you goes out to Bob Jacobson, our producer of today, and this recording will be posted within our district5150.org website. And a real big special thank you for past District Governor Jerry Fujimoto and past District Governor Ron Jin for supporting Brian with his dream of beginning this E-Club, which should officially start or be chartered, we hope, in October, right? Is that what our goal is?
I just have to send you the paperwork and wait for a few more applications.
Yeah, I got to sign that.
But I have a goal that I haven't quite reached, but it's my personal goal. It's not a goal for Rotary.
Okay, well, we thank you for your enthusiasm, your knowledge, your connectivity, and everything you've shared with us today. It's been a nice talk. I wish we could be in person, and maybe down the road we'll challenge you and have us all come together physically and enjoy a more intimate talk so people can be actually asking their own questions. So again, thank you everyone from around the world for joining us today, for being open to change and for making our world just a better place. So thank you all. Everybody go off mute and say hello. Thank you.
We really
In
appreciate
their own language.
Thanks, Brian. Good to see everyone.
And Masalami, bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Namaste, namaste from
Brian.
Nepal. Namaste.
Brian.
Thanks,
Brian.
Thank you. Share.
Odabo.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. And thank you, Mary, too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Brian. Bye, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much.